What is up, my people? Welcome to another one. Now, let's talk about some boxing today. Um, Ryan Garcia versus Mario Barrios took place this weekend, and the fight pretty much went the way I thought it was gonna go. Um, you know, people doubted Garcia because Garcia is a guy who is very um how do you call that? He's inconsistent. And that's because he's irresponsible. And something like that, you can't really count on somebody like that. You can't really put your money on someone like that. And you can't really trust someone like that. And so because of that, it is how can I say this? It's very normal to not put your money on someone like that. To doubt him. And so there was a little bit of doubt, even in myself. I don't know if I even made a prediction, but I did have doubt that he was gonna win. But at the same time, he was up against Mario Barrios, which to a lot of people is the weakest link um, in that division, and for other people from other divisions, they want to fight him as well. The reason they want to fight him so much, and the reason Mario Barrios currently had so many opportunities in the boxing world is because he's not that good, and because of that, everybody wanted to fight him. Um, yeah, that's really what it is. You would think that it would be the opposite. You would think that people would want to look for a challenge or whatever, but it's not like that. A lot of people, most humans, look for the weakest link and attack that person, or the easiest way out. Which is it's um depends on what you're in the game for, right? If you're in the game for money, and you're in the game for winning, which, by the way, I'm not saying don't do it for money or only do it for this or that. I'm just telling you that certain types of people, when they all they care about is money, a lot of the other things start to fall on the wayside when it comes to their options of what they're gonna do. Because, for example, I was looking at uh, an interview of Andrade. I don't know if you guys remember Demetrius Andrade, which is one of the biggest crybabies in boxing. And he was reminiscing. Kind of a sad moment. He was reminiscing on all of the guys that he could have beaten, and then he could have beaten all of the guys that Canelo beat, and then he could have beaten all the guys that Crawford beat, and then he could have beaten all of these guys. It could have been, coulda, woulda, shoulda is a very sad way to live your life. You know, it just seems like if you could have done those things, Mr. Andrade, then you would have. Now, for you to start crying and saying that, oh, I got blocked by this guy or blocked by that guy. Canelo Alvarez is 5'8". He's a Mexican. I mean, God knows Mexicans, have it hard enough as it is already. And he did what he could to move up all the way up to wherever the hell he's at. I mean, Shakur Stevenson is bigger than Canelo Alvarez. I've seen them next to each other. Shakur Stevenson is bigger than Canelo. And Canelo's beating up guys that he should have, they shouldn't even be in the ring with him. And you're saying that he got favoritism? You're saying that he has it easy and you got it hard? Yeah, this is the type of shit that these types of guys like Andrade, they're not in it for the boxing at all. They're in it for easy opportunities to make money, easy opportunities to make wins. That's why he wanted Canelo so bad, because Canelo is a little guy. He knew that. Everybody in boxing knew that That's why they wanted Canelo so bad. It's because they saw Canelo as an easy pick. Because he's not a real, 165? He's not. He's a guy moving up to that weight class and fighting giants. So you think that those other guys, like including Crawford, by the way, you think that they're going to challenge somebody like Bebo? You think that they're going to challenge somebody like Beterbiev? If you think that they're going to challenge Benavidez? You think they're going to challenge these guys that are naturally bigger and belong up there? No, they're going to challenge the little guy that's moving up and pretend like he's the big giant. Why? Because that's the easy pickings. Now, the thing about it is, like, most people see that the weakest link doesn't want them and that they're not going to get the easy way out. And they say, it's all or nothing. I'm just going to risk it. And they do it early, by the way, because you got to attack the iron while it's hot, as they say. Andrade, he just kept on whining and kept on waiting for that one opportunity. He said, I got to get that guy. I got to get him. I got to get that one easy pickings. And look at him now. Crying and reminiscing. Because he didn't want to risk it. He didn't want to take a chance. He wanted to the easy way out all the time. That should be a lesson to most young boxers today. Always trying to find the easy way out is not always good. And yeah, sure, if you can find a loophole, whatever, boom, bah, game the system, boom, bah, good. But if you see that there's not a way, to do that, then guess what? It's like my brother used to say, because my brother was always a defender in a lot of the sports that he was in, basketball and soccer. And most of the time, I was the guy doing most of the offense and doing a lot of the pretty shit. And so one of the things that he would always say was like, if you can't be pretty, be ugly. Right? And so what that meant is, and he would always make it tough for anybody who would ever face him, in the sense that, yeah, maybe he's going to lose. Or maybe he can't do all the ball tricks that you could do. He can't dribble like you do. You can't, do all the spin moves and move around all of the opponents or whatever. But guess what he can do? He could stop you from doing all that shit. He could stop you from trying to get yours off. And that's a good mentality to have in sports and in life, really, is if you can't be pretty, be ugly. Okay? So people like Andrade and people like the people trying to catch Barrios and try to get their fight against Barrios. Bro, everybody knows he was the weakest link. I'm sorry to say that. But you gotta move on. You gotta look for another one. And if you can't find another one, you gotta fight the big dog. Okay, like for real, like a guy who really belongs there. But yeah, Ryan Garcia won the fight easily, knocked him down in the first round. So people thought that it was gonna be over in the first round. I didn't think so, because Barrios, for all of his faults, for all of his lack of speed and reflexes, he has a tough head. He has a big ass Aztec tombstone head. That you guys seen those Toltec heads they found in Mexico that look kind of African American, or actually they look more Samoan to me. But yeah, those big ass heads. That's what Barrios' head looks like. He has a big ass head. Pause. But But the thing about it is we could say some nice things about Garcia, even though he beat up the weakest link. He showed that he had a good right hand, and he didn't just rely on his hook. I think he explained that he had an injury that didn't allow him to use his right hand, and that's why he was overusing his his left hand. And so he was kind of out to prove that he's not just a one-handed fighter. A lot of people in the crowd that I noticed, kind of looking surprised, kind of looking like, damn, maybe Garcia is better than we thought he was. Some people were bored because it was very much a one-sided fight. This is why people fall off of boxing, by the way. It's because one-sided fights. You know what I mean? So, but the thing is, like, the reason that we have a lot of one-sided fights is because, number one, the level of boxing is really low right now. Right? It's a very low level of boxing. Number two, promoters set up their favorite fight or their top dogs to win. They never set them up into real fights. And last but not least, it's just the fact that there's not very many people that are watching boxing anyways. It's not necessarily that the boxers are doing anything wrong or that the promoters aren't fixing them up with, which is a thing that's happening. But it's just like, at the same time, not a lot of people are interested in boxing that much as they used to. But so when it comes to the level of boxing, the reason I say that it's so low is because, at least like in the 2000s, like the early 2000s, the 90s, and even in the 80s, there was back and forth fights. There was fights where an opponent would come out and be winning, and then the opponent would do something, some kind of technique, or maybe just be more aggressive, or go to the body more, or change up his stance, something that would turn the fight around. And that would happen, more and more times the further back you go in boxing. The last one that I remember was this how far back it was. It was Zab Judah versus Floyd Mayweather. And famously, Zab Judah was beating the shit out of Floyd Mayweather for a couple of rounds, maybe like 3 or 4. And then Floyd Mayweather, starts coming back. And then, of course, Zab Judah kind of got a little bit aggressive because that was the only thing he could do, is just pick up his aggression. But Floyd Mayweather stayed steady and continued to win the fight. So that was one example. But if you go further back, you got Marco Antonio Barrera versus Eric Morales. All of them, I think 1, 2, and 3, they were both back and forth fights. You go even further than that. You got Sugar Ray Leonard versus Marvin Hagler. That thing was a back and forth fight. Several adjustments through, I think it was 15 rounds. There was several adjustments that happened. I mean, first it was Hagler, then Sugar Ray Robinson comes back somewhere on the middle. Then Hagler comes back, and then Sugar Ray Robinson. It was like so crazy. Like that. And the further back you go, the more you see those types of fights, because the level of boxing was just better, and because people didn't just go out there and didn't just know one thing to do. If you look at the fights of today, most of them, whoever's winning the first round is going to continue to win the rest of the fight. Whoever seems more in control is going to continue to be in control for the rest of the fight. It's just always going to be that way in these modern day fights. And people don't want to see that. That's boring. You know what I mean? They don't want to see shit like that. Right? So the level of boxing is just not the same anymore. Look at Shakur Stevenson versus Teofimo Lopez. A lot of people don't know how to deal with that type of pure boxer anymore. They used to know how to deal with them. They used to know exactly what to do with them. They don't anymore. You know, it's not a thing that boxers are trained to do anymore because everybody's training the same way. Everybody's training like a pure boxer, including the sluggers or the grapplers. I mean, fucking grapplers, brawlers. They're training the same way. All of them are training the same way because they say that it's the proper way to train people. But the proper way to train people is not always going to be the way to win the fight. And unfortunately, when everybody's fighting like a pure boxer, it's going to come down to the strongest, the fastest, and the better reflexes. It's going to come down to physicality. It's not going to come down to technique or anything like that. So, who's next for Ryan Garcia? A lot of people are talking about Conor Benn. Some people are talking about Shakur Stevenson. I think the plans were always Ryan Garcia versus Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney versus what's his name? Abdullah Mason, I believe. And I think that was the plan. Those are the plans for their second fights, and then after that it'll be Teofimo versus who? I don't know, but the point is they're trying to make all of these guys fight each other, finally. And we're just gonna have to see. I think if Ryan Garcia faces Shakur Stevenson, who knows what's gonna happen? I mean, I still think Shakur Stevenson has the ability to win simply because he's a guy that's going to constantly stay safe on the outside. He's not going to want to take any risks. And Ryan Garcia, he doesn't have the style to beat someone like that, in my personal opinion anyways. I mean, he has the speed, he has the strength, Ryan Garcia does. He has the power, right? And he definitely has the reflexes because he has very good reflexes. But the problem is that his style of boxing is kind of like a like jab, move, hook, jab, which is similar to Shakur Stevenson, believe it or not. But the only thing is that Shakur Stevenson knows all of the ins and outs of his style. And Ryan Garcia only knows the tricky stuff, the tricks. And the thing about it, if you don't understand your weapon, your instrument, in and out, you don't know how to use the butt of the blade, the tip of the blade, the two sides on the side. If you don't know how to punch with it, you don't know how to, but you learn how to do tricks with it, you're more likely to cut yourself with the knife than the guy that knows the basics and the fundamentals down more better. And that's how I see Ryan Garcia versus Shakur Stevenson and how that fight might go, in my personal opinion. But anyways, guys,